The city was broken. Houses stood like skeletons, empty and dark. The wind carried dust instead of music, and hunger lived in every street. For 3 long days, Elara had not eaten. Her child, a small boy with thin arms, lay weak in her lap. His lips were pale, his eyes half closed, and his breath slow. Elara's stomach cried, but her heart cried louder. The boy whispered, "Mother, food." "Please," then fell back into silence. She kissed his forehead, but her own lips were dry. She had searched the ruins, the trash heaps, even the broken markets, but nothing. Not a single crumb of bread, not a single drop of milk. The colony was once a home, now it was a cage. The alien masters ruled from tall towers with blue lights. They gave food only to those who obeyed, and anyone caught stealing or begging was punished. Still, mothers like Elara tried. Still, children starved. On the 4th night, when her child's breath grew weaker, Elara made a choice. She wrapped him in her thin cloth and walked through the ruined streets. Her steps were heavy, her hands shook. The moon was hidden. Only the fire lamps of soldiers lit the way. There was one place where she had seen food before. The military camp. The officers ate meat, bread, rice, fruits, and when they were full, the leftovers were thrown into a metal bin she had watched many times. Her stomach twisting as soldiers laughed over plates, but fear always stopped her. Not tonight. Tonight her child's weak breath pushed her forward. She reached the edge of the camp. The guards sat near the fire, talking and drinking. She hid. In the shadows, heart racing like a drum, she wanted to run to the bin, grab what she could, and disappear. But then her child coughed. The sound was small, but enough. The guards turned. One shouted, "Who's there?" Elara stepped out, shaking, holding the child close. Her voice cracked as she spoke. "Please, may I have the leftovers for my child?" Silence fell. The laughter stopped. The firelight showed her face, thin and tired, eyes red from tears. The guards burst into laughter. Leftovers? For a beggar? One said. Another spat on the ground. "Go away before we call the commander." Her knees weakened, but she stayed. "Please," she whispered again. "He has not eaten for 3 days." She lifted the boy slightly, his head hanging limp on her shoulder. The laughter grew cruel. One soldier tossed a bone at her feet. "Here, eat this like a dog," another shouted. "Better throw her in the cells." Elara closed her eyes, tears sliding down her dirty cheeks. She bent to pick the bone, though it was bare. Though it gave no food, she thought even a drop of taste might help her son. But then a new voice spoke, calm and heavy. "Enough." The soldiers froze. From the tent, a tall officer stepped forward. He was different, his eyes sharper, his face calm but strong. He looked at Elara, then at the child. The camp went silent. The guards stood straight, afraid of his rank. Elara trembled, not knowing if he would help or punish. The officer walked closer, boots hitting the ground slow and steady. He stopped in front of her, studying her face. Then he bent down and picked up the bone she had tried to take. He looked at it with disgust and threw it aside. He turned to the soldiers. "Is this what you call honor? Laughing at a starving mother?" The soldiers looked down, silent. Then the officer looked at Elara again. He reached behind him, pulled a small metal box, and opened it. Inside was bread and dried meat, half-eaten but still fresh. He held it out to her. Her hands shook as she reached, tears filling her eyes. "Take it," he said firmly, "and feed your child." She clutched the box like treasure, whispering, "Thank you, thank you." The officer leaned closer and whispered, so only she could hear, "Do not come again. They are watching." She froze, her heart jumping. Who was watching? The soldiers? The aliens? Or something more? Elara hugged her child tight, holding the food as if it was gold. her mind filled with fear and questions. But her child's life came first. She bowed her head and with trembling steps walked back into the darkness of the ruined city. Behind her, the officer watched in silence, his face hiding a secret. The soldiers whispered among themselves. Why had the officer broken the rules? Why had he saved the beggar woman? The night grew colder, the wind sharper. But in Elara's arms, the boy stirred weakly. His lips moved, his eyes half open. And for the first time in 3 days he whispered, "Mother." Ilara's tears fell on his cheek. She pressed the bread to his mouth, and as he chewed, a faint glow seemed to pass across his skin. The mother did not see it, but the officer, watching from the shadows, did, and in that glow he knew. This child was not ordinary. Elara carried her child through the broken streets. Her arms were weak, but her heart was stronger. The small box of food was pressed to her chest, like it was more precious than gold. Every step echoed in the empty city. Every shadow looked like danger, but nothing mattered, not the cold air, not the fear of soldiers, not even death, only her child. She reached a hidden corner, inside the ruins of an old market. There she placed her boy gently on the ground. His lips moved, too weak to speak. She broke the bread into small pieces and placed them in his mouth. He chewed slowly, eyes closing as if tasting heaven. Elara wiped his face, whispering, "Eat, my son, please eat." She fed him the dried meat too, though her own stomach screamed with hunger. But she did not take a single bite. She only watched him eat, and for the first time in days, color returned to his cheeks. Yet something strange happened. As the food touched the child's tongue, a faint shimmer passed over his skin, like tiny sparks of light, invisible to most eyes. Elara did not notice, too lost in relief, but someone else did. From the shadows of the ruins, the officer stood in silence. He had followed her quietly, unseen by his own men. His sharp eyes caught the glow, a glow no human child should make. He whispered to himself, "It is true." Then he stepped back into the darkness, leaving without a sound. That night, Elara dreamed. She dreamed of voices, strange and heavy, speaking in a language she could not understand. She dreamed of stars falling from the sky, of machines waking up from under the ground, and in her dream, her son stood tall, glowing like a beacon. When she woke, sweat covered her face, and her son slept peacefully beside her. She looked at him and felt fear, but also hope. At the camp, the officer returned to his tent. The soldiers still whispered about what he had done. Why help a beggar woman? One said, "Why risk angering the aliens?" Another asked, but none dared question him directly. He was Commander Kale, a man both respected and feared. His loyalty to the alien masters was unquestioned, or so they believed. But Kale's eyes were heavy with secrets. Inside his tent, he locked the door and opened a small metal case. Inside was an old book, its pages worn and faded. Humans were forbidden to keep records, but Kale had kept this one hidden for years. The book spoke of a prophecy. It told of a child born in hunger, a child who would glow with the light of ancient power, a child who could awaken the machines buried deep beneath the colony. The aliens feared those machines because they were not alien, they were human, built long before the masters came, built to protect humanity. Kale whispered, "So it begins." He closed the book and hid it again. The risk was great, but his path was clear. The child he had seen was not ordinary. The child was the beacon, the hope of humanity the next day. Elara woke to the sound of footsteps. Her heart jumped, fearing soldiers. But when she looked, it was him, Commander Kale. He stood tall, his face serious, his eyes sharp. Elara held her child close. "Please, I will not beg again. Don't hurt." "Use." Kale raised his hand slowly. "Quiet. I am not here to harm you." He looked around, making sure no one followed him. Then he stepped closer, voice low. Your child. He is not ordinary, is he? Alara froze, her eyes wide. What? Do you mean? Cale's eyes softened, though his tone stayed firm. I saw the glow last night, he said. I know what it means. Alara shook her head, tears forming. He is only a boy. He is only my son. Cale leaned closer, whispering. He is more than that. And if the aliens find out, they will take him away, and you will never see him again. Alara's heart stopped. She hugged the child so tightly, he stirred in his sleep. Cale looked at her, serious and cold. You must listen to me, woman, if you want him to live. He explained in short words. The aliens had ruled for 50 years. They crushed every rebellion. But they still feared one thing, the legend of the beacon. The child who would rise in darkness. The child who could awaken the old power. That child could lead humans to freedom. Cale believed Alara's son was that child. Alara shook, unable to believe. He is only a child. He is weak. He is sick. He cannot save anyone, she cried. Cale's voice hardened. Do not hide from the truth. I have seen it. He carries the light, and the aliens will come for him? Alara whispered. Then what do I do? Cale looked into her eyes, his voice like iron. You must hide, but not here. They watch this city always. You must leave with me. Tonight, in the distance, a drone floated by, its red eye glowing. Cale pulled Alara into the shadows, covering her mouth with his hand. The drone paused, scanning, then drifted away. Alara trembled in his grip. When he released her, he whispered, They are already searching. That night, Cale led her and the child through hidden paths. The city slept, but the air was thick with danger. Every corner seemed to hide an enemy. Every noise made Alara's heart stop. They crossed broken bridges, dark tunnels, and streets lined with bones. Finally, they reached an underground passage. There, Cale lit a small lamp, the fire revealing strange symbols on the walls. Alara asked, What is this place? Cale answered, A place older than the aliens, a place they fear. Alara looked at him with wide eyes. Why are you helping us? She asked. Cale's face grew dark. Because I was once like you, a child hungry, begging for food, but someone saved me, told me of the prophecy. I grew into a soldier. I served the aliens, but I never forgot. And now it is time to choose. He looked at the child, sleeping in Alara's arms, glowing faintly even in the dark. This boy is humanity's last chance, Cale whispered. Alara's breath caught, her fear growing stronger. But before she could answer, a loud sound echoed from above. The ground shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Cale's eyes hardened. They have found us. The ground shook again. Stone dust fell like gray rain, and Alara covered her son with her arms. Commander Cale pulled them behind a broken pillar, his eyes on the tunnel mouth. From far away came the buzzing sound of drones, thin and sharp like metal bees. A red glow touched the walls, sliding like a slow knife. They are here, Cale whispered, his voice tight but steady. Alara's heart raced. She looked at her son, his face calm in her arms. Too calm for a child in danger. His eyelids fluttered as if he were dreaming. His skin showed that faint light again, like pale fire under water. Wake up, my love. She whispered, Please wake up. The boy's eyes opened, soft but bright. He did not cry. He did not shake. He only listened to the earth, as if the earth was speaking to him. Cale pointed down the passage. The path split into two dark jaws. Left tunnel is longer, but safer. Right tunnel is short, but close to the old core. He said Alara did not know what the old core was. She only knew the word safe. Left, she said. We take left. The boy touched her wrist with a small hand, his fingers warm. He shook his head slowly and looked to the right tunnel. Cale saw the look. He understood in a way Ilara did not. "The core," Cale said. "He wants the core." The buzzing grew louder. The red light crawled closer. The drones were almost at the turn. Cale made the choice. Right tunnel now. They ran, feet slipping on sand and old stone. Ilara held the child tight and breathed through fear. The walls were carved with lines, circles, marks like stars and rivers. The boy reached toward them, not with fear, but with knowing. His fingertips almost touched the lines, and the lines lit up. One by one, like a gentle dawn, Cale stopped for a breath, his eyes wide. "I have seen drawings of this," he said, "but never the light." Ilara did not care about drawings. She only saw her son's face, shining more with each step. "Is it hurting him?" she asked. "Is the light hurting him?" "No," Cale said. "The light is him." The tunnel opened into a round chamber, large and silent. The air felt old and clean. In the center, a dark plate of metal lay like a lake without water. Smooth and black, around it stood tall stones, bent like guards. They wore the same lines as the walls. Above, the ceiling showed a broken circle. Through it a thin beam of sky peered like a watchful eye. The drone's buzz echoed behind them. Closer now, sharper now. Cale looked at the metal plate, then at the child, then at Ilara. "This is the core gate," he said. "Buried when the aliens came, sealed by human hands." Ilara stepped back, fear and hope fighting inside her. "My son is only a child," she said. "He cannot open gates." The boy slid from her arms and stood on small legs, weak but steady. He walked to the black plate and placed his palm on it. The metal hummed. A soft sound like a lullaby turned into thunder. Lines of light rose from under his hand. They ran like water across the plate. Then they leaped to the standing stones and climbed them like vines. The chamber woke. The air shook. The light formed a pattern, a calm star inside a storm. Cale stood like a statue. His lips parted. "Beacon," he breathed. The old word was true. Ilara's throat closed. She wanted to pull her boy away, but she could not move. The light did not burn. It embraced. It welcomed. It felt like a warm river in winter. The boy looked up, his eyes not quite human now, soft gold and deep blue. He spoke, but not in the language of the colony. His voice was simple, but it felt heavy. "Wake," he said. "Wake and remember." The black plate opened, not like a door, but like a flower. Petals of metal curled back, showing a stair that spiraled down into a bright dark. From below came a pulse, steady and slow, like the heart of the earth. Cale moved first, his hand on Ilara's shoulder. "Down," he said. "They cannot follow us quickly there." Ilara looked back at the tunnel. A drone's red eye appeared for a breath, and then vanished as Cale shot the lens with a silent bolt. The drone jerked. Back, sparks fell like angry rain. "Down," Cale said again, and Ilara obeyed. They descended, step by step, into a chamber of old machines. The walls were smooth. The floor was clean. The air smelled like rain before rain. Lights woke as they walked, soft lines along the floor, guiding them. Ilara held her son's hand. The light flowed through his fingers, through her fingers, into her bones. She felt warm for the first time in days. Warm and strong. Cale reached a console, a simple flat stone that was not stone. It showed no letters, only a circle. The boy touched it, and the circle filled like a rising moon. A voice spoke. It was not male, not female. It was the voice of a home that had waited too long. Human seed detected, lineage confirmed. Caretaker bypass engaged. Ilara did not understand the words, but she understood the feeling. The machines were not enemies. The machines were their own. Cale bowed, his head for a breath, as if before an old friend. "Core," he said. "We call for shelter." Shelter granted, the voice said. Pursuit detected. On a screen that was not a screen, Alara saw red dots in the upper tunnels. Many dots, a small swarm of hunters. Each dot moved like a sharp thought, quick and cold. Ilara's hands shook. They will find us, she said. They will take him. The boy turned to her, his face gentle. They will not, he said, in the simple voice of a child who believes. He turned back to the console and spoke softly. Quiet. The red eyes, he said. Please. A wave left the core, silent and clear. Above them, in the tunnels, the drones fell from the air like dead moths. Their red eyes went dark. Their wings froze. The echoes stopped. Ilara gasped. Kale stared. You disabled them, Kale said too. The child. For how long? The boy tilted his head, thinking in a way too old for him. Not long, he said. They will wake and call their masters. The voice of the core spoke again. Signal masked for 300 heartbeats. Extended safety requires movement to lower vault. Kale straightened, purpose returning like steel. We move to the lower vault, he said. There is an old train, a line that runs under the colony. Ilara nodded, but fear did not leave. It only changed shape. Will it take us away? She asked. Away from this city. It will take us to the cradle, Kale said. The place where humans first built the machines, the place the aliens could not find. They moved along a narrow bridge over a deep shaft that breathed cool air. Ilara kept her eyes on the boy. The boy kept his eyes on the lights, kept their eyes on the path. Behind them the stair sealed. The petals of metal closed again, like night closing over day. In the distance, a dull thud reached them, then another, as if fists of iron were beating on a door of stone. They are trying to cut through, Kale said. We do not have many heartbeats. They reached the train. It was a silver needle sleeping in a cradle of shadow. No wheels, no smoke, only a soft skin and a quiet promise. The boy touched the side, and the needle woke with a hum. Passenger match, the core voice said. Route options unlocked. Kale looked at the board that rose from the floor. Simple lines, a map that even a child could read. The cradle, he said, pointing to a circle far below and far away. Route set, the voice said. Warning, external signal search has begun. Ilara helped the boy into the train. Kale followed. The doors did not slide, they breathed. The seats felt warm like hands. The walls held a faint glow. Ilara felt her fear change again. It became a strange calm, the calm of a storm eye. She held her son. He leaned against her. His small hand found hers. Are you tired? She asked. Does it hurt? He shook his head, a tiny smile on his lips. It feels like home, he said. A sharp crack split the air behind them. The bridge shook. Kale turned. The tunnel mouth flashed with sparks. A cutting beam broke through the sealed stairs. Thin, but deadly. They have a miner, he said. Bigger than drones, strong enough to cut the petals. Ilara's breath froze. She looked at the doors. Go, she whispered to the train. Please go, the voice answered, calm and clear. Departure in 20 heartbeats. Magnetic field forming. Please remain seated. Kale knelt in front of the boy, his stern face softer than before. Listen to me, he said. Your gift is great, but you are still a child. Do not try to carry all the weight. The boy looked at Kale with old eyes in a young face. I am not alone, he said, and he took Ilara's hand and Kale's hand and held them both. The lights in the train warmed. The hum grew deeper. Outside, the cutting beam widened. A circle of red ate the door. Metal petals began to glow. Shapes moved beyond the cut, dark and fast. Not drones, not human. Ilara closed her eyes and prayed without words. The voice counted down. Each heartbeat a drum. 19, 18, 17 outside. Claws struck stone. A hiss filled the tunnel. A shadow pressed against the cut. 16, 15, 14. The door bent inward. A long limb pushed through. Metal and meat together. A thing built to hunt. 13, 12, 11. Cale raised his weapon, but the boy shook his head. "Wait," he said. "Not yet." 10, 9, 8. The hunter forced half its body through, its head like a smooth mask, its mouth a needle fan. 7, 6, 5. The boy stood, small and sure, and placed his palm on the wall of the train. 4, 3. He whispered one word, a word the Corps knew, a word the machines remembered. "Shield," he said. A film of light wrapped the train, thin as breath and strong as mountains. The hunter leaped, teeth opened, claws out. It hit the light and froze, caught like a fly in clear ice. 2, 1. "Departure," the voice said, and the world slid backward. The train moved without moving. It flowed through the tunnel like a thought through a sleeping mind. The hunter scraped along the shield. Sparks fell behind like a trail of stars. Then it was gone. Elara pressed her face into her son's hair and let out the breath she had held for too long. Cale sank into a seat and stared at the boy as if seeing. "The first sunrise. You did it," Elara whispered. "You saved us." The boy looked down. Shy again, only a child again. "I only asked," he said. The machine wanted to help. The train ran deeper. The lights on the walls changed from white to blue to a calm green. The Corps voice spoke once more, softer now, closer now. "Beacon, your pulse has been noticed. The masters will search. We must be careful." Elara lifted her head. Her fear woke again. "What does that mean?" she asked. "Will they find us?" Cale answered before the voice could speak. "They know you. Exist now. They do not know where you go. But they will look everywhere." The boy turned his face toward the darkness ahead. "We will reach the cradle," he said. "And there will be more lights, more voices, more hands to help." Elara touched his cheek, warm and bright. "You speak like someone who remembers, my son," she said. "But you are so small." He leaned into her touch, his eyes heavy for the first time. "I remember what the machines remember," he said, "and they remember us." The train sang a low song as it moved, a song of old metal and human hope. Cale stood and walked to the front window. Nothing to see but the soft tunnel glow. He spoke without turning, his voice steady like a promise. "When we arrive, there will be choices. We will need allies. We will need courage. We will need truth." Elara nodded. She did not have answers, but she had love, and love is a kind of courage. She kissed her son's forehead. His light dimming as sleep took him. Outside, far above, in the broken city, the aliens gathered around dead drones and cut doors. They spoke in cold voices and planned cold plans. And deep below, the train carried a mother, a soldier, and a child who glowed like tomorrow, toward a place the masters had never found, toward a cradle that could become a forge. The song of the train grew a little louder, and the darkness ahead felt a little less dark. The train whispered through the underground like a silent river. Its hum was steady, its light was soft, and its path stretched far into the unknown. Elara sat with her son in her lap, her hands wrapped around him as if her arms could protect him from the whole universe. Cale stood near the front, his face half in shadow, his eyes fixed forward. He looked like a soldier still, but his silence carried the weight of a man carrying secrets. Elara finally spoke, her voice soft. "Where are we going, Commander?" Cale turned slowly, his voice calm but heavy. "We are going to the cradle. It is older than this colony, older than the towers the aliens built. It is where humans first hid what they could not defend. Machines, knowledge, and hope." Her heart trembled at the word hope. It was a word she had not allowed herself to believe in for years. She looked down at her son, sleeping, his faint glow still moving under his skin, a light that refused to die. The hum of the train carried them deeper, but Elara's thoughts carried her back. Back to the laughter of the soldiers. Back to her child begging for food. Back to the strange glow she had not noticed until Kale pointed it out. Her child was not only her son anymore. He was something more, something dangerous, something the aliens feared. She kissed his forehead and whispered, "No matter what they call you, to me you are my child first." Kale walked closer, his voice low. "You must understand. They will come for him. They will not stop. They will send hunters, soldiers, and shadows, all to claim him. Because if they lose him, they may lose everything they built here." Elara's chest tightened. "Then how do we keep him safe?" Kale's jaw hardened. "By not standing alone. There are others. Humans who do not kneel. Humans who whisper rebellion even when silence is ordered." The word rebellion lit a spark inside Elara. She had heard rumors before, whispers in the ruins, men and women meeting. In shadows, trading secrets, stealing weapons, but she never believed they were real. Kale's voice grew stronger. They are real. They hide in the bones of old tunnels. They wait for a sign. They wait for a reason to rise. They do not know the beacon is alive. But when they do, they will gather. The train slowed, the hum softened, and the lights dimmed as if preparing. "For sleep? Arrival in secondary station," the machine's voice said. Calm and timeless, Kale nodded. "We change trains here. This path will take us to the rebellion." Elara's stomach twisted. What if they do not trust us? "They will," Kale said, his voice steady, "because they have been waiting." For him, the doors opened with a sigh. Air rushed in, colder, sharper, smelling of stone and rust. They stepped out into a cavern that stretched wide, its walls carved by machines long gone. The station looked dead, rails broken, signs broken. But faint marks showed footsteps. Not alien, not machine, human. Kale led them into a narrow side tunnel, his hand on his weapon, his steps silent. Elara followed, clutching her son close, her ears catching every drop of water, every echo, every whisper of stone. Then voices, not loud, not near, but real. Kale raised a hand, signaling her to stop. From the darkness ahead, shapes moved. Men and women with pale faces and sharp eyes. Weapons made of scrap and old parts in their hands. They surrounded the three silently, eyes cold but not cruel. One man stepped forward, his beard thick, his coat patched, his voice heavy. "Commander Kale, we did not expect you to walk these." Tunnels again. Elara froze, confused, but Kale bowed his head slightly. "Revan," Kale said, "you still breathe. That is good." The bearded man studied him, then shifted his eyes to Elara, to the child in her arms. His brow furrowed. "And who are they?" Kale's voice dropped. "They are the reason I returned." The rebels muttered among themselves, suspicion heavy in the air. Elara's chest tightened. She felt their eyes pierce her like knives. She whispered, "I am no threat." "I am only a mother." Revan's voice cut sharp. "Then why does your child glow?" Gasps spread through the rebels. Some stepped back in fear. Others leaned closer in awe. Elara's arms tightened. Her voice broke. "He is only my son, please. Do not look at him like a weapon." Kale's voice carried over the whispers, firm and commanding. "He is the beacon. The prophecy is true. I have seen it with my own eyes. He woke the core. He silenced the hunters. He carries the light we were promised." The rebels froze, silence thick as stone. Riven's eyes widened, his voice almost shaking. "The beacon lives." Whispers spread, not of fear now, but of fire. "The beacon," they murmured. "The sign. The time. The masters will fall." Elara shook her head, tears burning her eyes. "Do not put this on him. He is only a child. He is. Mine, not yours, not theirs." Revan stepped closer, his eyes softer now. Mother, you carried him through hunger. You carried him through death. But he carries more than himself. He carries us all. Kale placed a hand on her shoulder. I know this burden is heavy, but we cannot turn from it now. If we hide, the masters will crush us one by one. If we stand together, we may rise. From above came a deep rumble. Dust fell from the cavern ceiling. The rebels froze, their eyes turning upward. Kale's jaw tightened. They are close, too close. They must have tracked the drone's silence. Revan snapped to his men. Seal. The entrance? Move the families deeper. Chaos stirred. Men and women rushing, grabbing packs, pulling children by the hand. The rebels were not only fighters, they were fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers, all clinging to survival. Ilara's son stirred. In her arms, his eyes half open, glowing softly, he whispered in a voice that carried further than sound. They will break through. Kale crouched before him. What do we do, child? The boy blinked, his eyes like twin suns trapped in a small frame. We go down, he said, to the heart that still beats. Revan frowned. The boy speaks of the old vault. Kale nodded. Yes, and if he is right, the vault may give us the strength we need. Revan hesitated, his eyes on the boy, then on Kale. You trust him fully. Kale's face was stone. I do. Revan drew a breath and turned. Shouting, gather everything, we moved to the vault. The rebels moved like a tide, silent but strong, carrying their wounded, their old, their children. Alara was swept among them, clutching her son, her heart torn between fear and a new strange strength. Above, the rumble grew louder. The aliens were breaking stone, digging like beasts. The rebels vanished deeper into tunnels few dared to walk. Led by Kale, guided by a child whose light refused to dim, and in the darkness behind them, the first alien hunter dropped from a hole, its claws scraping stone, its eyes burning cold red. It sniffed the air and let out a sound like a scream. Of iron, the masters had found the whispers of rebellion, and they would not let them grow into a storm without a fight. The tunnels shook as if giants were pounding on the stone above. Dust fell in thin curtains, small rocks rolled across the floor, and the rebels quickened their steps. Ilara held her son tight against her chest, her breath heavy, her arms aching, but she did not slow. Kale led at the front with Revan, their eyes sharp, their weapons ready. Behind them, men and women carried bags of food, pieces of broken rifles, even old books, scraps of knowledge they refused to leave behind. This was not just an escape. This was a flight of memory, of survival. The rumble grew louder, and then came the sound, sharp and cruel, a screech of metal against stone. The first alien hunter dropped into the tunnel from above, its body a twisted cage of bone and steel, its eyes glowing red. It crouched low, its claws scraping sparks against the floor, its head tilting like a bird sniffing for prey. The rebels froze, fear choking their breath. Kale's voice cut through the silence. Run? They ran, feet pounding the stone floor, hearts beating like drums. The hunter screeched, the sound echoing through the cavern like a blade, and leaped forward. Its claws tore through the wall, leaving scars of fire. Its mouth opened wide, a circle of teeth spinning like wheels. Ilara nearly stumbled, but Revan grabbed her arm and pulled her forward. Don't stop, he shouted. If you stop, we die. The rebels spread through the tunnels like water fleeing cracks. Some carried children, some carried weapons, all carried fear. The hunters dropped one by one, each crawling from holes above, their limbs long, their eyes burning, their bodies hissing with steam. They did not walk. They ran, fast and low, moving like shadows made of iron. Kale fired his weapon. The shot cracked like thunder. One hunter stumbled, its eye shattered, but it did not fall. It only screamed and grew faster. Bullets slow them, But do not stop them, Kale shouted. Revan growled. Then we slow them until the vault. Boy stirred in Alara's arms, his eyes opening, glowing faint like fire under glass. He whispered, "Left path," his voice calm even as death chased them. Kale trusted him. Without a word he turned the group left, deeper into narrow tunnels. The hunters followed, their screeches bouncing like knives off stone. The air grew tight, the tunnel walls pressed close, and the rebels squeezed through, scraping skin and tearing clothes. Behind them, hunters crashed against the walls, forcing their huge bodies through the gaps, stone cracking under their weight. Alara looked back once and wished she had not. The sight of red eyes crawling closer, claws digging stone, mouths opening wide, burned into her mind. She held her son tighter and whispered, "Do not look, my love, do not look." The tunnel widened suddenly, opening into a cavern with an underground river, black and rushing. A narrow bridge of stone crossed the water, slippery and cracked. Kale led them onto it, waving the rebels across. "Move fast, do not stop." The rebels rushed, feet slipping, arms grabbing one another. Halfway across, the hunters entered the cavern, their red eyes reflecting on the black water. The bridge shook as if the stone itself feared them. One hunter leaped, its claws slamming into the bridge just behind Alara. She cried out, nearly falling, the child in her arms gripping her tighter. Kale spun, fired. The shot hit the hunter's shoulder, pushing it back. The bridge cracked where its claws had struck, pieces falling into the roaring river. "Faster," Kale shouted, "before it breaks." The rebels reached the far side, pulling each other up. Alara stumbled, almost falling into the water, but Revan caught her, dragging her onto solid ground. The hunter leaped again, landing on the bridge with a crash. The stone groaned, split, and collapsed. The hunter fell into the black water, but two more climbed down the walls, their claws digging like hooks. The rebels barely escaped, the bridge gone behind them. They entered another tunnel, darker, colder, dripping with water from cracks above. The sound of the river faded, replaced by the echo of hunters scraping closer. Kale's face hardened, sweat on his brow. They will not stop. They will hunt until nothing is left. The boy raised his head from Alara's chest, his eyes glowing brighter now. "They follow the light," he whispered. "My light." Alara's heart broke at his words. "Then hide it, my son, hide it." He shook his head, small and certain. "If I hide it, we all die. If I show it, we have a chance." Before Alara could beg him not to, he lifted his hand, his small palm glowing. The walls around them lit up with the same ancient lines as the core chamber. The tunnel groaned, the ground shook, and old machines hidden under stone began to stir. Huge slabs slid into place, sealing smaller passages, blocking some hunters behind. Others broke through, screeching louder, but slowed by the shifting stone. The rebels gasped in awe and terror. Revan's eyes widened. "The boy controls the bones of the earth." Kale nodded. "He does what the prophecy promised." Alara's tears fell, her voice trembling. "But he is only a child. How long can he bear this?" The boy's glow dimmed suddenly, his head falling against her shoulder. Weak again, Alara kissed his hair, whispering, "Rest, my son, let them protect us now." Kale pushed forward. "The vault is near, just beyond the old reservoir." But the hunters were not finished. From behind, a roar shook the tunnel, deeper than before, louder, heavier. The rebels turned and froze. From the shadows came a creature larger than the rest, its body covered in black armor, its head crowned with horns of steel. Its eyes burned brighter, its mouth opened wider, steam pouring out. Revan cursed under his breath. An alpha. The alpha hunter filled the tunnel, its claws tearing deep scars into the stone. The ground shook with each step, cracks spreading across the floor. Kale's voice dropped, cold and steady. "Run, I will hold it." Elara's heart stopped. No, you cannot face that alone. Kale's eyes met hers, hard as steel. If we do not stop it, none of us survive, Revan growled. Not alone, Kale. We fight together. The rebels raised their weapons. Crude rifles, spears made of pipes, fire bombs in glass bottles. They were not strong, but they were desperate. Elara clutched her son, backing into the shadows, her heart breaking as she watched men prepare to die. The Alpha screeched, the sound shaking dust from the ceiling. It charged, claws raised, red. Eyes burning, Kale fired. The rebels threw bombs. Flames burst against its armor. Smoke filled the tunnel. The beast roared, unfazed, smashing the ground, sending men flying. Screams filled the air. Blood splattered the stone. Elara turned her face into her son's hair, whispering, "Do not see this? Do not hear this?" But the boy opened his eyes again, his glow brighter than before. He whispered, "Enough," and the word carried like thunder. The flames bent toward him, gathering, spinning, until they formed a shield of fire between the rebels and the Alpha. The beast slammed against the fire, screeching, its claws melting, its mouth snapping in fury. But the wall held for a moment, only a moment. The boy shook, his small body trembling, sweat covering his face. Elara begged, "Stop, my love. It will kill you." But he whispered again, "Not yet, not here." The Alpha screeched louder, pressing against the fire, cracks spreading in the wall of flame. Kale grabbed Elara's arm, pulling her back. "The vault now, while he holds it," Revan shouted to his men. "Move, take the wounded, run." The rebels fled deeper, carrying their injured, carrying their fear, carrying their fragile hope. Elara stumbled, looking back, her son still glowing, still holding the fire, his eyes shining like stars. And behind the wall of flame, the Alpha pressed closer, its claws reaching through, its roar shaking the world. The chase was not over. It had only begun. The firewall trembled, its edges cracking like glass under pressure. The Alpha hunter pressed harder, its claws burning, its mouth screeching with a sound that tore through the tunnel like knives. The boy stood small against the storm, his arms raised, his glow brighter than flame. Sweat running down his pale skin, Elara cried, clutching him, whispering, "Please stop, my son. You will break." But the boy only shook his head, his voice soft yet heavy. "Not until you are safe." Kale's jaw tightened. He saw the boy's body trembling, saw the strain in his eyes. He knew this could not last, not against the Alpha, not against the swarm that followed. "Revan," Kale barked. "Move the rebels now," Revan shouted, his voice like thunder. "To the vault. Everyone to the vault." The rebels rushed deeper into the tunnels, carrying the wounded there. Voices filled with panic and awe. They had never seen a child hold back death itself. The Alpha roared and slammed again. The wall of fire shattered, shards of flame falling like broken glass. Elara screamed, pulling her son close, expecting claws to tear through them. But before the beast struck, Kale stepped forward, firing. Shot after shot, his weapon blazing, the bullets struck the Alpha's mask, sparks flying, buying only seconds. "Move!" Kale shouted. "Run!" Elara stumbled forward, the boy clinging to her neck, his glow dimming, his breaths sharp and shallow. She kissed his hair again and again, whispering, "Stay with me, stay, my son." Behind them, the Alpha smashed against stone, shaking the earth, its roar following like a storm. They reached a massive gate buried deep in the tunnel. It was not like the train doors, not like the core pedals. It was older, heavier, made of black steel carved with strange lines. Revan slammed his hand against it, shouting, "Open, open." But the gate did not move. It only hummed faintly, as if it listened but did not answer. Kale spun, his weapon empty now, his eyes on the beast charging closer. "It will not open for us," he said. "It will only open for him." All eyes turned to the boy, weak in Alara's arms. Alara shook her head, tears spilling. "No, he cannot. He is too weak. He will die." The boy lifted his hand, his fingers trembling, his voice soft. "Put me down." Alara clutched him tighter. "No, no, you are my child." "Not their key, not their weapon." The boy touched her cheek, his small fingers warm, his eyes glowing faint like fading stars. "Mother," he whispered, "if the gate stays closed, we all die. Let me try." Her heart shattered, but she lowered him slowly, her knees shaking. The boy stood on his own, small and fragile, yet the tunnel seemed to bend toward him. He pressed his palm to the gate, his glow spilling across the metal like water across glass. The lines on the gate lit up, one by one, spreading outward like rivers of light. The humming grew louder, deeper. The ground shook as if waking from a long sleep. The rebels gasped, some whispering prayers, others crying in silence. The Alpha roared again, charging down the tunnel, claws raised. Kale raised his empty weapon. Standing in front of Alara and the boy, ready to die with them, Revan lifted his spear of iron. His men ready, though their weapons were weak. The boy opened his. Eyes wide, the glow blazing now, his voice echoing like thunder from a small throat. "Open," he said. The gate split apart with a scream of ancient stone. The light blinded the rebels, flooding the tunnel, and from within, a deep voice spoke. Not human, not alien, but something older. Beacon recognized, vault awakening. The Alpha lunged, its body crossing into the light of the gate, but the light struck it like lightning, freezing its limbs, burning its steel. It screeched, twisting, and collapsed into ash and shards of metal. The rebels fell to their knees, stunned, whispering. The prophecy, it is true. The beacon lives. Alara dropped to her knees, pulling her son into her arms, sobbing into his hair. "You are only a child," she whispered. "Why must the world demand this from you?" The boy's eyes fluttered closed, his glow fading, but his lips moved softly. "Because I remember," he whispered. "I remember what they forgot." Kale touched Ilara's shoulder, his voice firm. "The vault is open. We must go now." She nodded, though her heart ached, and followed the rebels inside. The vault was vast, a city buried under stone. Tall pillars rose like giants. Machines slept between them, their surfaces smooth and silver, covered in dust. Lights lit up as the boy passed, ancient lamps waking after years of silence. The rebels stood in awe, their fear forgotten, replaced by wonder. Revan whispered, This is what we fought to believe in." Kale nodded. "This is what the aliens feared we would find." The boy stirred again in Alara's arms, his small voice soft but clear. "They are not just machines," he said. "They are guardians. Waiting for us." The machines began to move, slow and heavy, their chests glowing, their heads rising. They were not like the hunters, not twisted or cruel. They were human-made, built with clean lines, built with purpose, built with hope. The rebels cried out, some falling to their knees, others reaching out to touch the rising guardians. The air filled with sound, not of screeching hunters, but of machines breathing again. The vault spoke once more, its voice filling every corner. "Beacon, command recognized, state intention." The boy's eyes glowed again. Though he trembled in Alara's arms, he whispered, "Protect them, protect my people." The guardians raised their arms. A hum building inside them, above. The tunnels shook with roars of hunters. More coming, many more, but the guardians stepped forward, their bodies glowing brighter. Kale's eyes widened. "They answer him. They fight for him." Revan's voice was filled with awe. "No, not for him, for all of us." Alara kissed her son's forehead, whispering through tears, "You are light, my child, but you are still mine. "You are still my boy." The boy leaned into her chest, his voice fading into sleep. "Then hold me, mother. Hold me while they fight." The hunters swarmed the tunnels, their screeches loud, their claws tearing stone. The Alpha's kin poured forward, red eyes blazing, but the guardians moved, their steps shaking the earth, their arms glowing. Bolts of white fire shot from their hands, cutting through the swarm like lightning through storm clouds. The hunters fell, their bodies shattering, their screeches silenced. For the first time, the rebels saw machines fight for humans, not against them. The rebels cheered, their voices echoing, hope rising like fire. Revan shouted, "We are not slaves, not anymore." Kale lifted his head, his eyes on the glowing guardians. "The war begins here." Ilara held her son tight, tears in her eyes, whispering, "You are a child, but they call you Beacon. You are my son, but they call you Hope. And I will not let them take you, no matter what comes." The vault shook with the clash of machines and hunters. The air filled with the roar of war. And deep within it all, the boy slept in his mother's arms, glowing faint like a hidden star. The rebels gathered around, their fear broken, their courage rising, for the first time in years. The whispers of rebellion grew into a cry, and the cry was simple, strong, and full of fire. Humanity will rise. But far above, in the alien towers, the masters stirred. Their cold eyes turned to the earth below, their voices hissing. "The beacon has awakened," they said. "Prepare the purge." The war had only begun. The vault burned with light and thunder. The guardians marched forward like giants of steel, their arms blazing with white fire, their eyes glowing blue instead of red. Each step shook the earth. Each strike tore hunters into shards of metal and bone. The rebels watched with awe, their fear turning into a storm of courage, their whispers of rebellion now a roar that echoed through the stone. Ilara held her son close to her chest, rocking him gently as he slept in her arms. His glow was dim, soft like an ember under ash, but it did not fade. Kale stood nearby, his weapon reloaded, his eyes scanning the tunnels where shadows still moved. Revan barked orders to the rebels, organizing them, pulling the wounded together, arming the strong. The vault was no longer a grave. It was a battlefield, and it was alive. Above, the ceiling rumbled, stones fell, and from cracks came a new sound. Not hunters this time, but something heavier, deeper, older. Kale's face grew grim. "The masters are sending more than hunters." Ilara's voice shook. "What is more than that?" Kale looked at her, his eyes sharp. "War machines, engines of death, things they never used until now." The guardians sensed it too. Their steps quickened, their fire burned hotter. But the rebels knew this was only the beginning. The masters had ruled for 50 years. They would not lose without unleashing everything. The boy stirred, opening his eyes slowly. His small voice carried weight. "They are coming, not just hunters, but the masters themselves." Ilara's heart froze. She pressed her forehead to his, whispering, "Sleep, my son. Please sleep. Let the machines protect us." But the boy shook his head, his glow growing brighter. "They are strong, but they need me. Without me they fall." Kale knelt beside him, his face soft, his voice like iron. "Listen, child, you do not have to carry this alone. We will fight. We will bleed. We will die if we must. But you must live." The boy's eyes glowed like stars, small but endless. "I will live," he whispered, "but not if you all fall. Not if hope dies here." The ground split, the ceiling cracked, and from above poured the true army of the masters. Machines with legs like towers, their bodies covered in dark armor, their mouths glowing red with fire. They dropped into the cavern, landing with thunder, each one as tall as a house. Behind them flew swarms of drones, black wings buzzing, red eyes flashing. The vault shook with their arrival. the air heavy with smoke and fire. The guardians roared, their voices like horns of war. They met the enemy in a storm of light and steel. White fire clashed with red flame. Explosions ripped through stone. Machines tore into machines. The cavern became chaos, thunder, and fire. Death and hope, Revan shouted. Rebels, fight with them. Show the masters we are not shadows anymore. The rebels raised their weapons, firing, throwing bombs, striking with spears. They were small, but their voices were loud, their courage stronger than fear. Kale fought like a storm, his shots precise, his blade sharp, his body moving with purpose. He was no longer a commander of the masters. He was a soldier of humanity. Alara crouched in the shadows, holding her son, praying without words, watching as the world turned to war. The boy raised his head, his glow brighter now. His eyes clear, he spoke softly, but the vault itself seemed to. Listen, guardians, shield them. Protect them, fight for them. The machines responded, their fire growing brighter, their movements faster. They stood between rebels and death, their bodies a wall of steel and light. But the Master's war machines were many, too many, 4. Every hunter that fell, another rose, for every drone destroyed. 10 more came, the guardians shook. Their armor cracked, their fire dimmed. The rebels bled, their courage tested, their screams mixing with their cries of defiance. Kale saw the balance tipping, his face grim. He shouted over the roar. We cannot hold, not like this. We need more than guardians. We need the fleets. Elara's eyes widened. The fleets? What fleets? Kale's voice was sharp. Before the masters came, human fleets left this world. They went to the stars, searching for refuge. The prophecy says the beacon can call them home. Elara looked at her son, her tears falling. No, he is too weak. He cannot. The boy's voice rose, calm and sure. I can, but it will cost me. Kale's eyes hardened. Do not let him do it alone. The boy slid from Elara's arms, standing on shaky legs. The light inside him grew, brighter and brighter, filling the cavern, pushing back the shadows. The machines froze, turning toward him, their voices silent, but there. Bodies listening. The Master's army screeched, clawing harder, firing harder, but they could not drown the glow. The boy lifted his arms, his voice soft but echoing like thunder. Send the signal, he said. Send it to the stars. Tell them we live, tell them we fight. The vault answered, its lights flaring, its machines humming. From deep below, a beam of pure light rose, shooting upward through stone and sky. It pierced the earth, broke through clouds, and reached the stars. The signal was sent. The masters roared in fury, their machines surging forward. One of the war engines broke through the guardians, its claws swinging down toward the boy. Kale saw it, and without thought he moved. He pushed Elara and the boy aside, and the claws struck him instead. The sound was heavy, final, a sound of sacrifice. Elara screamed, her voice breaking. Kale. The boy's eyes burned with light, his small hands glowing brighter than ever before. No, he whispered, his voice filled with sorrow and power. You will not take him in vain. The guardians answered, their fire exploding outward, burning brighter. They tore through the war machines, shattering them, pushing them back. The rebels roared, their courage blazing, fighting harder, striking faster. But Kale lay on the stone, his blood dark, his breath fading. Elara crawled to him, clutching his hand, tears streaming. You saved us, she whispered. Why did you give yourself? Kale's eyes flickered, his voice weak but steady. Because I believed in him. And in you? He looked at the boy, his lips curling into a faint smile. You are the light. Lead them. And with that, his eyes closed, his breath gone. Elara wept, her tears falling on his still hand. The boy knelt beside him, his glow dim but steady. "I will remember you," he whispered. "I will carry you in every step," the battle raged. But the signal was gone to the stars, above the world, far away, across the endless dark. Something stirred. Old ships, long silent, woke from sleep. Engines roared, lights burned, human fleets turned their faces back toward the world they had. Lost, the beacon's call had reached them. The masters felt it too. Their towers shook. Their voices hissed with rage. "The beacon has called the fleets," they said. "We must burn this world before they arrive." The cavern trembled. Cracks splitting the floor. Fire raining from the ceiling. The guardians fought. The rebels screamed. The war raged louder. Alara clutched her son, whispering, hold on, they're coming." The boy leaned into her, his glow dim but steady. "They will come," he whispered, "but until then, we must survive." The vault roared, the war thundered. The signal burned across the stars, and in the heart of the chaos, a mother held her child, a child who was hope, a child who was beacon. And though the masters raged and the earth shook, though Kale lay fallen, though the war had only begun, the spark of rebellion had become a fire, and that fire would not be put out. The story did not end here. It was only the beginning.